Today is Monday, September 9th, 2024. This is episode 145 of the Tech Jawn from Columbus, Ohio. I'm your host, Robb Dunewood.
And coming out of Philly, it's your girl Tech Life Steph.
And out of Atlanta, this is Terrance Gaines, a.k.a. Brother Tech, a.k.a. Are we doing AKAs this week since we got a guest, or am I letting that slide? We'll be doing.
We always doing AKAs.
You know how you mess the people up if you don't do your AKA, man.
Y'all get on my nerves. All right. Out of Atlanta, this is Terrance Gaines, a.k.a. Brother Tech, a.k.a. Mr. Colonoscopy.
Ooh.
Who's going to do that? Who's going to do the AKAs?
Wow.
Finally got that out of the way. And the only silver lining to getting a colonoscopy is dreaming about all the food you're going to eat afterwards. For those who don't know, before you go in and get the procedure done, you got to kind of starve yourself and drink this little solution, whatever they give you, that gives you, without getting too graphic, it keeps you on the toilet for like the rest of the afternoon, the rest of the evening. And then, so you haven't eaten anything, and then this solution is flushing everything out. So by the time the actual operation is like, I'm ready to get this over with because I can't imagine all the food that I'm going to get. So I got that done over the weekend and am still coming down off the food coma I put myself in over the weekend. So looking forward to trying to get back on track with my little fitness because I gave it all up this weekend.
Well, that was worth it, I think.
Yeah. Ready to get it out of the way, so I'm not looking forward. Well, I mean, the procedure wasn't that bad because I was asleep. You know, I mean, completely knocked out. I mean, don't remember nothing. Knocked out. You know, so I can't say it was good or bad. It's just something you got to do, especially at my age.
We appreciate a black man taking care of his health, okay?
Right.
Because y'all be wilding a little bit when it comes to that kind of thing. So we appreciate a black man taking care of his health.
Speaking of a black man, we got an extra one on for those who are actually watching the video. You see, there's another face that is not part of the regular three. Steph, who we got on the show this week?
We have Malcolm Coley, who is the Chief Technology Officer at Futures First Gaming. And we're going to talk about everything that means. Brother is doing some wonderful things down in Delaware. So excited to get that conversation popping in a little bit.
Welcome to the show, Malcolm. I know you've watched before, so you're going to be treated like kinfolk today. So just jump in where you fit in, and then we're gonna talk about these tech stories. So for those who are watching in close to real time, or those who are listening on Tuesday after this is Apple Week. Apple had a humongous event today, and Terrance, I'm just gonna let you break it down. Let's just go through all the stuff that Apple announced today and what they have coming out, and iOS 18 they've got coming out next week. Let's just chop it up and get into all of that.
Yeah. So, of course, this is the event everybody's waiting on as far as Apple's list of events, maybe just in Apple, whether it be Apple employees, whether it be Apple fans, Apple users, or just tech in general. This is like one of those bigger announcements of the year. So Apple did, like Robb mentioned, announce a couple products. So I guess we can get in and we can go in chronological order as the event went on. I think first they talked about the Apple Watch Series 10. This is the 10th iteration of the Apple Watch, and I guess kind of surprised people, I would assume, because when the iPhone 10 came out, they called it the iPhone X, and it was supposed to look different than all the other iPhones out there. Well, with the Apple Watch Series 10, a lot of people were reporting, or the rumor mill was saying that they're going to come out with this different design. It's going to be boxy. It's going to be this, that, and the third. Not really. It's the same look as all of the other Apple Watches, but this year they've got a thinner bezel. I guess they're calling it the thinnest bezel on an Apple Watch ever. They're also
as per typical Apple.
Every year. Everything is the first ever to be done on this and that and the third, right? So they've got a thinner bezel, which makes for a larger display. They also have a OLED display, so that's going to give you more display even on the edges of the bezel. They're coming out with a thinner and lighter casing. So the Apple Watch the face is going to be bigger, and it's going to have a lighter casing if you opt for the titanium.
I'm getting that, Jawn. Sidebar. I just got to jump in right there because when I saw it, I was like, yep, I haven't had a new Apple Watch. I have the SE from
the first SE.
Yeah. Well, we're on the
SE2.
third one.
No, it's just a 1 and 2.
So I have the first one. Yeah, I got the first SE right now. I had I don't remember which one I had. I had an actual Apple, like an Apple Watch, maybe the 6 or the 5 or something in there. And then I got the SE after that. Cause I kind of cheaped out a little bit and was like, I don't need all the functionality. I'm getting the titanium 10. That joint is beautiful.
So here's the trick though. Make sure you're getting the right one, because the regular Apple Watch Series 10 is typically aluminum, but they've polished the aluminum to where it gives you almost like a glossy black look. And then there's the titanium version.
Yeah, I'm getting the titanium.
You're getting the titanium version.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm getting titanium.
Yeah, but that's why I wanted to.
It's beautiful, and even the subtle design changes, I think, really make it look really nice. It is thinner. The screen is bigger, so it definitely, with that titanium finish, I think it gives it a very elegant look and feel to it. So I was feeling it. I was like, yep. Take my money. Take all my money.
So even though they didn't change the design completely, they did add some extra special options onto the Apple Watch Series 10 that does make this a little bit more unique. Like Stephanie mentioned with the titanium one in it, because I always get the titanium. This is the titanium Series 9, and the reason why I get the titanium version is because the metal is more scratch resistant, but I'm pretty good with Apple Watches, so I really don't have a scratch on this one. So I was thinking, all right, now they got this Apple Watch Series 10 regular with the polished aluminum. Since I take care of my watches, do I save myself $100 or do I get?
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it to yourself, man. Don't do it to yourself. You could be like, I wish I had gotten that titanium.
Yeah. So
don't do it.
Yeah. So I'm going to stick with the titanium with Stephanie, or one of the things I didn't do last year was buy the Apple Watch Ultra. The Apple Watch Ultra is the bigger Apple Watch. It's got all the fancy sensors. It's got all the sports and the fitness stuff. And when they came out with the Apple Watch the Apple Watch Ultra 1, I was like, yeah, I don't need all those features. Then last year, when rumors that Apple was going to do a different color on the Apple Watch Ultra version 2, I'm like, if they get a black color,
that black is nice. It is nice.
And they didn't do it for the Apple Watch 2, but now I'm sorry, the Apple Watch Ultra when they came out another year, they didn't do the color. Now they've got the Apple Watch Ultra 2 that has that titanium black.
That satin black is very, very nice.
Which is the same price if you up for the titanium version of the Apple Watch Series 10.
The titanium 10 is $799?
Yes, it is. It's the same price as the entry level.
So you telling me I need to get the Ultra then?
Well, that's what I'm deciding. I can't decide whether or not to get the Apple Watch Ultra 2 in black.
I didn't realize that. I was looking at, because they were like, it starts at $399, $499 for cellular. That's for the aluminum joint.
Polished aluminum. So you got to make sure if you're getting the polished aluminum, which is like the $349 or $399, the titanium Apple Watch Series 10 or the black titanium Apple Watch Ultra 2. Again, Apple Watch
Ultra,
even though it's kind
that Ultra is nice.
It's very nice. It's huge, which is
it is huge.
And I typically do like a very big watch, but because I don't wear a ton of accessories, and my watch is usually my only accessory, so I like to have it stand out. But I don't know. I'm feeling like it could be too big for me now. I think I like the idea of and it looks just as, even the black does make it look a little more elegant, but it still looks a little too rugged and too sport for some of the fashion permutations that I will be wearing it in. Like, if I want to wear it to dress up, whatever, like that's not going to go with my outfit. Right. So, as well as the 10 in titanium would. So, I may still skip that, but I did not realize the titanium 10 was still $799.
Yeah. Well, let me double check. I'll make sure you get my number.
No, I believe you. I totally believe you. I just didn't realize it.
Oh, hold on. We think we might need to coin that. Steph said fashion permutation.
Listen, I had a 800 on my verbal SAT.
Right. I'm about to say your SATs was up there, girl.
Yep. So that's how I found the price, because I was actually going through and actually trying to price the Apple Watches, and I'm like, I'm going through and doing my normal thing, clicking through and waiting for the titanium. Once I added it all up.
Do they take trade-ins for Apple Watches?
They do take trade-ins, but here's my tip: do not trade it into Apple, because they're gonna get you on the price. You're much better to either going to a third-party trade-in company that all they do is trade-ins, or selling it on like OfferUp is an app that I use, or Facebook Marketplace. But again, you got to deal with all those losers on Facebook Marketplace and on these third-party apps. Yeah, because they'll waste your time. They will waste your time.
That's why I go to eBay is still good for for selling stuff like this.
I don't trust eBay. Them replicas go too hard nowadays, man.
I'm telling you, I sell phones on eBay all the time. I'm not saying that anyone has not had an issue. I'm just saying that I have sold phones darn near every other year for probably the last 7 years, 8 years. Every other year I'm selling a phone, and I've not had a single issue, and I always get more there than I would get anywhere else. Now, I haven't really tried the Facebook Marketplace for the very reasons that you're saying. It's like, I'm not gonna call them folks losers, but I will say that they have a whole lot of time on their hands to mess around with your time. But
that's how I feel about eBay.
Really? Okay. So yes.
Oh yeah, me and Terrance on the same wave. That's how I feel about eBay. That's where the losers be at. Facebook Marketplaces. That's where you get the money at.
Yeah, or you cannot deal with that. Or I normally go through like a third-party refurbisher site, Back Market, Mac of All Trades, Declutter. Some of these sites where you can turn them in. They'll give you it's good for 30 days. So if you're trying to get your money right, you can actually go on some of those sites right now, put your watch up, let them give you an estimate based on your description, and then that's good for 30 days. So then you get that number, compare it with everybody else. Then once you get your new phone, put the old one in the box, send it back, and you typically get a little bit more money at those sites. So it's like Apple is almost at the bottom as far as the trade-in.
Right.
And then you get some of these third-party refurbisher sites, like I'm mentioning, and then you get like into eBay and Facebook Marketplace, which will give you the most amount of money, but it don't come with its headaches. I've sold stuff on eBay.
I definitely need the convenience of something. Whatever I'm doing is going to have to be convenient. I'm not doing a whole lot of. Saray said I could keep it. I could keep it, but I don't need 2 Apple Watches. And if I'm going to pay $800 for a watch,
it's going to be the watch.
Well, and I want to try to offset that cost a little bit as well.
Exactly.
So, I'm definitely. I definitely want the 10. And I'm definitely going to do something with my SE to try to offset the cost.
All right, that's enough talking about these watches. Let's talk about this iPhone 16.
Actually, I do want to say one thing about the watch, because the watch and the AirPods, there were really cool things that they were doing. And the one thing that the Apple Watch now is doing, in addition to all the other health data that it collects, it will now also be able to check for sleep apnea. 80% of people don't know they have sleep apnea. 80% of sleep apnea cases go undiagnosed, at least according to Apple at this event. So the idea that watch is going to be able to check for sleep apnea is going to be huge, especially again for communities of color.
Yep, so because I just
how does it even do
the sound?
Yeah, there's a whole thing. I've started taking some of it down. It's going to check for it's going to use your accelerometer to check for breathing disturbances. What they call breathing disturbances, and it's going to be able to tell you, if you got sleep apnea, yo, for real, it's crazy.
Jesus, crazy.
I was just doing, like I mentioned at the top, just going through my procedure, and they mentioned, do you have sleep apnea? I was like, I don't know. My wife tells me I snore. I don't know if that has sleep apnea or not. So when I get this, first thing I'll be testing is whether or not I have sleep apnea. All right.
That was very cool.
iPhone 16. Tell us about this phone that I'm going to think about getting and ultimately not get.
Why are you even talking like you're going to get one? Yeah. All right. So the iPhone 16 and the 16 Plus, those are the first 2 iterations. The most notable thing about these 2, they come in new colors, but the dopest thing that I saw about this, which I don't know if this is a benefit for Apple or not, but the iPhone 16 and the 16 Plus will have the same general features as the 16 Pro and the 16 Pro Max. Normally, what Apple does is they'll come up with these one or two dope features, and they will only relegate them for the higher end phones, the 16 Pro and the 16 Pro Max. The evidence of that last year was the action button. When Apple announced the action button, it was only available on the 15 Pro and the 15 Pro Max. For those who don't know, the action button is that little button that you can press that's above the volume buttons, and it'll give you those customizable things you can do. Flashlight, start a playlist, or if you use shortcuts, you can program it to do a litany of things, right? You can only get that on the 15 Pro and the 15 Pro Max. Well, this year,
did you use it?
Yeah, I use shortcuts. So I customize it to start my music playlist. I customized it to connect to my Bluetooth speaker in my exercise room. So I've got this whole routine. We can get into it later. But yeah, I actually use shortcuts to program the action button with 4 additional buttons. So, that's my level of tech, right? But this year,
that's that snob OS-ish.
So this year they announced the 16, the 16 Plus, 16 Pro, the 16 Pro Max. All 4 of those devices, including the entry level ones, have the action button, and they also have what Apple's calling a camera control. They ain't calling it a camera button. They're calling it a camera control. And what that gives you is not only the ability, it's another button on your phone, and it gives, well, I don't call it a button because it's more of a haptic response, to where if you tap it real fast, it'll open the camera and take a picture. If you tap and hold it, it'll do a video. If you tap it a couple times, similar to like the AirPods and the haptic on the AirPods, based on what you're doing in the camera, this camera control will give you different responses. So if you press and hold it, it'll open up your camera preview or your camera roll, all those different things. So all that, the action button and the camera control, those 2 buttons are on the 16 Pro, the 16 and the 16 Plus, in addition to the 16 Pro and the Pro Max.
I think camera control is going to be a good deal. I mean, I literally always use my volume buttons as my shutter. Yeah. So I think that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense.
And since it being haptic, you can actually use it to kind of do different things based on the pressure, based on how many times you tap it, things of that nature. So that's what Apple's going after as the new feature to get everybody to jump to the iPhone 16, in addition to the whole Apple Intelligence, which is what, is coming. Apple, they announced it when they announced it, when WWDC, when they announced all their software. They mentioned it again during this event, but it won't be available until sometime in October. And
that's not even fully featured yet. You ain't really getting all the fully features until 2025, probably, at least.
Right, which is why I don't think Apple did, which is why the reason Apple didn't differentiate from the 16 Pro and the 16 regular is because they want all 4 of those devices to have access to Apple Intelligence. We thought when they first announced Apple Intelligence, that's the feature that they're going to relegate to the 16 Pro and the 16 Pro Max. Nope, they've upped the chips in all 4 devices. Yep. The iPhone 16 and the iPhone 16 Plus get an A18 chip, and the iPhone 16 Pro and the Pro Max get an 18 Pro chip. But both of those chips that come in all 4 of those devices all will get Apple Intelligence. So they want people to, the differentiator from getting an iPhone 15 or a 14 or a 13, you need to get that 16.
That's
because
right.
You want to get that Apple Intelligence. So they're pushing everybody into this new. You want to get that new feature, you got to get a brand.
You got to get the new phone, as it kind of should be. Yeah, I mean, like who you. That's not one of those features you can sort of backdate with with an OS update. You know what I mean? You need those chips. You need all the rest of that stuff to really get the full functionality out of it.
It makes sense because Apple, when they move into Apple Intelligence, it's not like that's going to be you decide to have it or you decide to not. They want everybody with an iPhone, an iPad, or a Mac, or an Apple Watch, or they want everybody using that stuff. So it doesn't make sense to differentiate it now. If the ultimate game is to get everybody on it, if you're going to go to a new phone, get everybody on that new phone, regardless of which version of it they get. That actually makes good sense.
They needed to do something anyway. I mean, for the last however many years, Apple have they really been innovating? And I'm a fanboy. I'm a fanboy of Apple all the way through and through. But what have they really been doing to really separate themselves from Android? Y'all let me know. I mean, I have my opinions, but y'all let me know. I mean, if y'all got a green bubble running around somewhere, because I don't know.
Listen, no. I will say, though, because you had said, Malcolm, before we got into the live stream, something about security with Apple Intelligence.
Mhm.
And I talked about this, actually did a quick hit on CNN today. And I talked about the idea that there are a couple things Apple's doing for security and privacy with this whole idea of Apple Intelligence. And the one is called private cloud compute, which is when you need to do those functions, whatever the AI is supposed to do for you, and you need the additional computing power of one of Apple's servers, it's going to be private. It's going back and forth. They're not keeping that data, it's not being shared anywhere. Like they're hoping the phone will be able to take that. Those A18s will be able to take care of most of it. But if you need the server, it ain't going no further than that server.
Right.
And then it's getting deleted after that. The other thing they're doing is called they're making a verifiable privacy promise. So they're going to be letting a third party come in regularly to make sure that they're living up to the security that they said they were going to do. So that was one of because the anchor asked me, like, oh, what's going to be different about this than anything else? I was like, not a whole lot. I mean, the AI is going to do what AI does, but the security piece is what is going to separate and differentiate Apple, I think, from everybody else, because nobody else is doing that.
Yep. So what was your concerns about security, Malcolm, for, that was along the lines of what Stephanie was talking about? Or are you talking about companies, or how was you thinking about this may be a potential issue?
Yeah, I'm actually just curious as how companies are going to start to really as more and more data is just like frequenting the internets these days. How are companies really going to manage their data, especially if some of their proprietary devices are Apple devices, and Apple's like, oh, we have a third company. Oh, nobody's going to be able to access your data because we have our own private servers. Like, I just feel there's a little bit of ambiguity there, but I want to leave certain things to the experts. I'm not an expert in data, but it just feels there's a lot of gray areas there. So I mean, I'm just not sure about what Apple is going to do, especially because in the last few years, when we talk about Facebook, and all of the issues that we've been going through with TikTok, like just privacy and data is just huge. And with Apple bringing out this whole new Apple Intelligence functionality, and I don't want to say forcing everybody to use it, but if you get a new Apple product, you will be using Apple's formal in AI intelligence, right? It's just a lot of gray area there, and I just haven't got a good foundational
understanding.
Great word. Thank you so much. I just haven't got a real good foundational understanding of like how are you guys really going to control all this data as you're going to implement the AI into the new devices. It's just a lot of gray area there, so I'm just not sure.
Yeah,
Apple is taking a stance that is different than the other companies, and one of the things that I've thought for a while is that Apple has to be here. AI is not going anywhere. It's only going to get bigger and bigger. So they have to be here.
Yep.
But fundamentally, if you think about what Apple has been doing, particularly when you hear about these class action lawsuits and in these cases, antitrust with Google and how they were dealing, Apple doesn't pay other companies for access to other companies' tech. Other companies pay Apple money for access to iPhone users and iPad users and Mac users. And that's fundamentally different because when you think about OpenAI, when you think about Google, when you think about Microsoft, they're throwing all this data in and they're mixing it all up and they're giving you all these great things. But Apple is saying right off the riff, we're not going to do it that way. We're going to be much more secure. So the more secure you are, the less data that you ultimately are transferring back and forth, and the fewer things you're going to be able to do. So I think that Apple's going to really be working with a company like OpenAI. They're going to really work with a company like potentially Microsoft. I don't know that they really want to work with Google in this way. But they're going to work and rely on them to use their AI for a lot. So I think that you're always going to see a distinction between, well, here's Apple's AI, but here's the AI that the rest of Earth is using. And I'm just interested to see how do they actually navigate that, because it's really different. It's like when you're using OpenAI, it's everything. When you're using Google, they're trying to be everything. They're not quite there yet, but they're trying to be everything. When you're using Microsoft, it's all of their stuff. And Apple is saying, nope, we're not really doing that. We're going to make sure that it's just private between between our server and you. No one else has access to that, which is,
and to be honest,
great,
I'll sacrifice functionality for security. Honestly, like if because I'm only going back and forth between me and my phone and Apple servers, I don't get to do something that I might be able to easily do with ChatGPT. I'll eat that. I'll eat that for the security. I'll definitely eat that.
And as a bonus, to piggyback off what Stephanie just said, if you do want to search the everything, which is similar to what ChatGPT is doing and Copilot and all Gemini and all these other ones are doing, Apple's like, all right, if you want to venture into that world, you can use OpenAI, but just know there's going to be some security risk involved. If you are talking to OpenAI and all the data that you share with them, my name is Bennett, and I ain't in
it. That's really what I'm saying. Because it's like, they're already working these deals out with these other companies, so they are going to put these other AI platforms on their platform.
Oh, they gonna give you enough rope to hang yourself.
So it's just going to be really interesting. That is a little different than how Apple generally operates. But before we want to talk with Malcolm and all the stuff that Malcolm's doing. But Terrance, I know there's just a few more things. If you could quickly just go over that, just to let us know what else is coming out.
Yeah, sure. So I mentioned the 16 and the 16 Plus, which is the entry level ones, the 16 Plus being the bigger screen. There's also the iPhone 16 Pro and Pro Max, which is the difference between those are thinner bezels, which is going to give you a slightly larger display than on the, I call them the entry level models. And of course, you're going to have more camera control. So all those iPhone togs, is that what they call them? All the people that use their camera on their pro devices and they use them to another level, you'll get all of those same features in the 16 Pro and the 16 Pro Max. And of course, you get nicer colors. So if you do want to spend a little bit of money for an iPhone, 16 and a 16 Pro and a Pro Max are going to give you those better cameras. They're going to give you that nicer, those nicer colors. So you have a different choice between those four devices. Another thing that Apple announced was the AirPods 4. These are like the fourth generation of the regular AirPods, but basically the nicer thing about the AirPod 4 is they have active noise cancellation. So you can get the AirPods 4, I'll call them regular. And then if you upgrade, I think the regular ones are $129 and the AirPods Pro with active noise cancellation are $179. And what they're going to do is they're going to give you a similar, not the same, but a similar experience to the noise cancellation in the AirPods Pro. And they're going to be able to filter out larger noises. It's going to be able to have conversation awareness. Now, the active noise cancellation is not going to completely isolate you from everything like the AirPods Pro or the AirPods Max, but you do get that active noise cancellation in a cheaper device, right? Mm-hmm. So they announced that the AirPods Pro 2, nothing's really going to change with those, with the exception of an over-the-air software update coming later that's going to give the AirPods hearing aid features.
That's what we got to talk about. Yeah. Yo, my mind was like, you are literally going to be able to use your AirPods Pro 2 as a hearing aid.
Right.
Like that is so dope to me. That is just super, super dope to me. And I just appreciate the fact that, Apple obviously is a
health and
corporation and they trying to make money and we live in a capitalist society. But I feel like Apple, I ain't gonna say it's the only, but is one of the few tech companies
that makes it a concern,
that is legitimately looking for ways to allow the technology to help us and to enhance our lives. Sure, they might be grabbing data. They're all grabbing data. You know what I mean? Like, there might be security holes in their software. There's security holes in everybody's software, but ain't nobody else making their AirPods, their earbuds, hearing aids, you know what I mean, on top of everything else. Ain't nobody else checking for sleep apnea with their smartwatches.
No,
so it's like, I appreciate the fact that regardless of whatever else Apple might be doing, they're actually building in functionality into their devices that is legitimately going to help people. So I appreciate that.
And one of to piggyback off of that, it normalizes hearing aids,
Right.
because there are some people who probably need them that are dealing with the I don't call it ostracized, but the
The
inconvenience
stigma of
and the
having,
stigma. The stigma is the
yeah.
better word. The inconvenience and the stigma with wearing hearing aids. People automatically gonna, how it's natural for you with an ailment or a disability or a handicap or anything like that to not feel normal. And the fact that everybody is wearing some sort of earbud or some sort of AirPod, whatever the case may be, you as that person with that hearing issue is going to feel less normal because everybody's doing it too, right? So I think that's and also a benefit that maybe Apple considered, maybe they didn't, but I'm pretty sure people that can use the hearing aids without spending extra money. I don't know how much hearing aids cost. I'm pretty sure there's price involved in that.
They are not inexpensive. I know from just family members who have them, they are not inexpensive.
Right.
And and this is probably what Apple is seeing. There's a lot of folks who wear hearing aids, but when they want to use their AirPods, they take the hearing aid out and they'll just have it kind of hanging there and put the AirPods in, just because the hearing aid does not replicate what you get from earbuds, and the earbuds don't replicate what you get from the hearing aid. And Apple is saying, maybe we can bridge that and get more people to buy our,
and get more people to buy AirPods. Yeah,
because that's what
and make money
and by default an iPhone. Exactly.
It's like, we can get more people to buy this stuff. So that's ultimately where we are. What was really interesting, because for the parts of the event that I actually watched, was that I think they said 80% of Americans, American adults, have not had a hearing test in over 5 years. And there's a lot of folks walking around that just don't realize that they have hearing loss. They just don't know. It's just like, because it's kind of like if you start wearing glasses at an older age, you don't really realize that your eyesight is getting bad until it's like, man, I can't see anymore. Then you go and you realize, oh, you should have been in here 2-3 years ago. And it's the same thing with your hearing. You don't necessarily realize that you're losing it. It just becomes a normal until you get to a point to where somebody says, it's like, why do you keep saying "huh" all the time? Or what do I got to keep repeating myself?
Why is your TV so loud?
Exactly.
That's the one right there. Why your TV so loud?
Yeah. Another thing that's coming in the iOS 18 update is a hearing test. You will be able to do your own hearing test through your AirPods on your phone. So I mean, like, again, just super dope. Super dope.
And like Stephanie mentioned, iOS 18, which will bring all these new features, is available next Monday. The Apple Watches are available for pre-order now, and they'll be available on not this
20th.
Friday, the 20th.
Yep.
The iPhones will be available for pre-order later on Friday of this week, and then they'll be available for shipping in stores on the 20th. So everything will be available on the 20th. The watches you can pre-order now. The AirPods you can pre-order now. The iPhones you got to wait till later this week. So that was it for the entire show. There was a couple other things, but that was pretty much the gist of it.
Take all my money. Well, I'm due for a new phone. I get every other phone. So I have a 14. I'm due for a new phone. And I did like that the titanium, the bronzy one. Desert, what is it called?
For
the Pro, there's
the
there's a titanium, like it looks a little brown or
it's a gold color,
goldish, whatever that is. Yeah, it looked pretty nice. I'll probably get that one.
All right.
Although I did see that, I did want the pink, but I need the Pro.
All right. Where you at, Malcolm? Are you Android, iPhone? What are you?
I'm team. Okay,
so
hear me out.
Here we go.
Hear me out.
What happened?
I'm always team Apple. Always team iPhone. I have an iPad right here. Right now, once we get into our conversation, I am a gamer. And with that being said, Apple computers are not conducive to what I need to do. from a gamer perspective, right? So I had a Mac and I had the most updated Mac, but what I need to do as I stream and as I do all of my gaming things, a Apple computer cannot process fast enough from a graphics perspective. So everything from my computer, from the router to the tutor, is all
So all
not
the streaming stuff is non-Apple, and then all the personal devices are Apple. Got it. All right.
You're a mixed family.
Yeah.
I am. I'm
a blended family. You have a
yes,
blended
we are a
family,
blended,
right?
integrated family over here. So.
Yeah, I've got a middle child who is into gaming, and she's asking about what am I going to do, because she's got a Mac Mini, and I'm like, I don't know what we're gonna do, but we'll probably end up if I don't find an old Mac that I can dual boot into Windows, I may build her a PC.
I wouldn't even.
Yeah. Yeah, can't do that. Just
don't
get
even
her PC.
don't
just
even
get her
do
PC.
Just get her PC.
So y'all have been hearing Malcolm talk, but Steph, go ahead and get this man his props and introduce him proper, please.
Let's introduce him properly. Welcome to Malcolm Coley. He is the Chief Technology Officer at Futures First Gaming, which is an educational technology and esports entertainment company with STEM accreditation. He is also the CEO and founder of Lock Nation. This is an initiative that celebrates the natural hair movement with a particular focus on locks.
Go ahead and bring these to
He
the front.
is also the director of digital media at Influencers Lab Media, which is a full-service marketing firm where he co-founded Spending Black Matters. And he has done a whole bunch of stuff. We'll just read a couple little achievements because, your receipts. He has been recognized for his inclusion in the Leadership Delaware 2023 Fellowship. This is a prestigious program that focuses on the professional development of young local leaders in Delaware. And he has also earned a place in the Delaware Business Times Top 40 Under 40 for 2023, a list that honors young professionals for their innovative ideas, business acumen, and community involvement. Welcome, Malcolm Coley, doing the damn thing. We're happy to have you.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been a long time coming. I've been waiting for this.
Yeah, we're glad to have you here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
So
let's start.
Go ahead, Steph.
I was going to say, let's start with your background, because you actually have a degree in chemistry. Talk a little bit about the background and then what led you into the gaming space.
So interesting enough, my daughter, she just turned 16. She's a junior in high school. And she's like, Dad, I have the class. I have environmental science. And I'm like, oh, you have environmental science. Interesting enough, that's the path that I took that actually led me to want to be a chemist, is that class, environmental science. So I wanted to work with the environment. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to go to school and be a chemist, right? So that's what really inspired me to be a chemist. And to this day, I still enjoy the environment. I still like to work with the environment, all the things. But that's what led me to go to Seton Hall, New Jersey, and get my chemistry degree. And my work with the environment did not go after that. I started working in big pharma, Pfizer, Schering-Plough. I worked in Merck. I did formulation chemistry, research and development. So Steph, I am through and through. I am a STEM kid,
hardcore,
through and through.
baby.
hardcore STEM. Interesting enough, we're talking about Apple. After I stopped doing formulations chemistry, I actually transitioned into Apple, and I worked at Apple for 3 years. So all the things that you guys are talking about, all the organized chaos that you see when you go into an Apple store, I used to be one of those guys who was a part of that organized chaos. And hence, that's what kind of opened up the doors to get me to this point where I can have these conversations with you guys.
Nice.
So gaming, I used to think that I was a gamer until I met some gamers, and my time just does not work like that. I like playing, but how did you go from doing the chemistry thing to, I know you did a stint at Apple, but you are what we would consider a hardcore gamer at this point. How did you get there?
Oh, interesting. So I've always been playing video games. I remember, I still remember the day when my mom walked in the house with a Nintendo, the NES, right? And I remember I had found an Atari. I don't know if that's older than me. When I found the Atari was older than me. So my dad had an Atari back in the day, but my mom walked in the door with a Super Nintendo. I was playing Duck Hunt all the time. So I played Duck Hunt all the time. And if I ever since when that came out, I got every single system after that. Like if my mom couldn't get me anything else at any point in time in my life, she always got me some type of a system. So it was Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Saturn, then Dreamcast, and then I had a GameCube, and then I had a Nintendo 64, and then I had everything. Interesting enough, a hardcore gamer. Like I said, I've been playing video games the entirety of my life. It was stigmatized when I was growing up, right? When I was in high school back in 2000, it was like, oh, those video games are gonna write your brains. Like you're not gonna do anything with your life because you're playing video games for 70 hours a week, right? So disclaimer, although I was playing video games for a very long time, I was very popular in high school, so I was kind of
You
like
weren't that dude. You
outside.
weren't in the
Yeah, I wasn't.
basement, like.
Yeah, I wasn't in the basement. I wasn't in the basement. So,
And clearly you
just
were doing enough to be able to go get a chemistry degree. So the games it doesn't sound like the games hindered you from pursuing other interests and stuff as well.
No, not at all. Interested in oh man, we having a good conversation right now. I can tell y'all all my things. So when I was in college, right, I would like 20 minutes I would play video games, 20 minutes I would study, and then 20 minutes I would like exercise or like take a break or whatever. So that's actually how I got through college. That's I graduated with like a 3.8 or 3.9.
So you was doing a
like
Pomodoro method.
But
that's crazy.
Yeah, that's what I was on all 4 years of Seton Hall. That's exactly what I did from my freshman year all the way to my senior year.
I remember when I was in I'm probably 10 years older than you, but when I was in college, we would literally carry our own controllers for that Sega from play football. So it's like that we basically ate, lifted, practiced, play Sega Genesis, and we would go, as I said, we would carry our own controllers because you just never knew where a game was going to break out. But it's interesting to hear just, like one of the things that we would do is like, if you lost, you had to get down and do like 35 push-ups or something like that. Cause it was like, when you say you incorporated that I would go 20 minutes playing, I would work out 20 minutes, I would study 20 minutes. And that's not a new thing. That's a lot of ways that folks like myself got through college and stayed in shape to be able to do the things you're just doing on the football field. Was when you lose, you got to go do push-ups, you got to go go do sit-ups, you got to go run around the building or something like that to just try to stay in shape. So I'm glad
100%. Me and my guy. Yeah, me and my guy, we got this thing called Game and Get Right. So like if we're playing Fortnite or Call of Duty and we get a certain place when we lose, like let's say for instance we lose, right? And we're in like 40th place. Guess what? You got to do 40 squats, or you got to do 40 push-ups, or you got to do 40 of whatever because we're gaming and we're getting right, which I absolutely hate, by the way, because we do that for like 3-4 hours at a time, and I hate it, but it works. It works.
I guess whatever works. My goodness. So you love video games. How does that translate? How does that get translated into Futures First? What's the origin story for Futures First?
So interesting enough, me and one of my guys, we actually grew up in the same town, just different generations. A lot of people don't understand that picking up a controller can lead you to so many different opportunities that this world offers, specifically within tech, right? So what are we doing right now, right? I'm broadcasting via StreamYard, right? But when you think about these gamers who are broadcasting on Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, all the things, these are skills that they've acquired over time that can be useful at any single company that they can even imagine, right? I don't care if it's Pepsi or Coke or Facebook or Instagram. You can utilize these skills at any single company. So when you talk about, maybe event planning or community management, social, digital media management, coding, which is like, I think that's kind of like a buzzword these days, coding, but just software development as a whole, network engineering, like a lot of these folks started playing Sega or playing Super Nintendo or playing whatever video game way back when, 20 years, and it was like, oh, I love this. And now it just turned into an actual skill that they can utilize in order to really change the dynamics of their family. So that's what we over here expect. And I want to be very specific. Black and brown people, like, I've been having conversations around how can we utilize tech as a means to create generational wealth between our folks. And I feel like every single person, black and brown, has played some type of a video game at some point in their life. So how can we translate that into the technology skills that we need these days in order to really function and be a productive member of society? So that's really the origins of that.
Nice.
All right. You say you're a hardcore gamer. Is that
I am.
How does that different than a regular gamer? And is it the streaming? What would define? What's the defining difference between like just a casual gamer or somebody that plays on the regular versus a hardcore gamer?
I think when differentiating between the two, I know a lot of the history. I could go deep when it comes to and talk about those little fine, minute details. Like, oh, I played this game in 2001, and it was this song that played when I killed a specific monster, and like those are the hardcore ones, as opposed to you got your folks that play Candy Crush when they just waiting in a doctor's office, right? Or they just they might turn on a Nintendo Switch and maybe play Mario Kart or something like that. Like me, I know the history of this stuff. So like we always talk about, and I don't know how much you guys know about these video games, but I used to play a game when I really started playing Final Fantasy 8. Yep. And they're in the community, like it's you either started with Final Fantasy. If you was a real gamer, you either started with Final Fantasy 7 or you started with Final Fantasy 8, maybe 9. But those are the type of details that we talk about when you talk about hardcore versus somebody who's casually playing. Like a casual player ain't really gonna know the details of this or that, this particular move versus that move. Or even when you talk about sports games, right? Madden, some people can talk about Madden 2004 and be like, oh, this is why Madden 2004 was great, as opposed to Madden 2008. And now we're all the way in Madden 2025, right? So like those are the hardcore folks that I'm a part of that community, as opposed to the folks who's like, yeah, I just kind of played Sonic a little bit when I was
like playing in my spare time.
Yeah, I just play in my spare time. Like, no, if you want to have a conversation with me, you gotta know what you talk about. You gotta know. So that's what I think really separates.
I find myself in the middle. So I, like I said, I grew up, my first gaming console actually was my older brother. He actually had an Atari 2600. My first, the first game that I got that was for me, that was mine, was basically Nintendo. That was the first one for me. Mm-hmm. And then like you had Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64. Mm-hmm. Then I got that Sega Genesis, and it was Tecmo Bowl and stuff like that until we got to the Madden. But then I also was a PC gamer, so I would actually have PCs I would play games. So I was really big into EverQuest back in the day, World of Warcraft back in the day, and games like that. But I started to figure out, because I always thought I was a gamer, because I would be in the Tecmo Bowl, into Madden like that, to where up until probably 2010 I could really get with you on conversations about why this player wasn't really a 94 and they should have been like a 92.4 or whatever. And then life kind of happened. It's like, I like being married, and it's like, if you want to stay that way, you might need to go get the leaves to the backyard, leave that gable up. But I thought that I was a hardcore gamer, and I just figured out, no, I was just someone who really likes games. So it's definitely more for me than Candy Crush. But it was not where I think the level you are, to where you were so into it, you were able to turn it into a career. This is what you now do in this. And that's it's something that, we always hear, you need to put them games down, go out there and get you a real job. And I love the fact that you're saying the real job that pays extremely well could be based off you playing these games. And that's we still today hear about these games, you need to do something more productive. But no, the games are something that can absolutely truly be productive and can take you far in a career and down the tech road.
100%. And it's so interesting as I had like when I actually like kind of like jumped down the technology that's so we were talking about earlier, where I can't use an Apple computer. I have to use a PC in order to game. And when you talk about the actual technology as to why I can't use an Apple computer versus why I have to use a PC, Nvidia's popping right now, right? Nvidia, you talk about graphic processors, Nvidia's popping right now, even talking about AMD processors, right? And see, when just actually knowing that type of knowledge and understanding like, oh, you know what's up, what's a GPU. Like if I mention GPU to anybody, right, they're like, what the heck is that, right? They might have heard Nvidia, but they might not necessarily know why Nvidia is Nvidia, right? So just actually knowing these skills, like when I'm playing my actual game, right, it's like a hardware and a software thing, right? So I actually know all of the insides of my computer from my CPU, the generation that my CPU is, whether it's an i5, i7, i9, whether it's an AMD, a Ryzen, right? I actually know my specs for my graphics processor. I know all of my internet, my ups, my downs. Like I know all of the tech from a hardware perspective, but I also know all of the tech from a software perspective too. So a lot of people look at these folks, these gamers, right, as in like, yo, you might be wasting your time playing the video games but actually all in all, when it really comes to breaking down that knowledge of technology, like I even need to understand the specs of my internet so I can understand bit rates and how much information is going up to the internet as opposed to how much is coming down and throttling and all of the cool tech terms. Like I know a lot of this stuff, and I'm just happy to kind of like be in a space to kind of like, I'm kind of like that happy medium, like, cause I'm a little hood kid. I'm still a hood kid. I'm a hood kid through and through. But on the other side, like yeah. Oh no. I love it. I embrace it. I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't be able to talk to you guys right now if I wasn't a hood kid, right? I just happen to be a little hood kid that loves technology, right? And I feel like there's a happy medium there. And I didn't have these opportunities because we going back to Apple. It's like I can look at a person in my phone and have a conversation with them and see their face. This did not exist when I was in high school. This did not exist when I was in college. So it's like the opportunities that I can potentially give to these kids now is just amazing compared to what it was 20 years ago. And 20 years, that's not a lot of time. No. That's really not a lot of time. So, I'm just happy to be in a position to, use gaming as a conduit to really talk about bigger tech conversations, because there's not enough black and brown faces in these conversations. We need to be, obviously tables are already made in these big tech conversations. And everybody talks about, oh, we need to build these tables. We need to build these tables. Yes, we do. But we also need to be at the tables that's already been built as well. So I just want to be the conduit to be able to bring that awareness to my folks.
So let's talk about that, because Futures First Gaming has STEM accreditation. Talk about what that means, how you got it, and how you're able to leverage that to help the young people.
Yeah, so in order for us to get that accreditation, we had to be vetted. We had to be vetted for quite some time in order to get that accreditation. We had to be aligned with various departments of educations based upon ISTE standards. So if our curriculum wasn't aligned with those ISTE standards, we wouldn't have been able to get that STEM accreditation. So that's what we had to do. So we had to align our tech curriculum with Delaware's ISTE standards. New Jersey has standards for their departments of education. Philadelphia has standards. Maryland has standards, and we also aligned our standards with Nevada as well, because we did some curriculum out there as well. So that helped us. That STEM accreditation helped us to be a lot more credible as we were getting our curriculums passed through. So we had to get vetted. We really had to get vetted. We really had to know what we were talking about in order to get that accreditation, because they just don't give that accreditation to anybody. Like there were schools that tried to get that accreditation and did not get it because they didn't know their stuff inside and out the way that we did. So for us to be a black tech company and have a STEM accreditation is major for us, because it lets you know that, hey, we know what we're doing. We're giving you good information, and the information that we're giving to you could really lead you to another place in your life. So, we take those STEM, we took that STEM accreditation very, very seriously. But we had to be vetted a lot to get that. So that's how we went about that.
Well, congratulations on that. It
Thank
is a
you.
big deal.
Thank
And
you.
also
Thank you.
the fact that Futures First Gaming has recently opened FFG Central,
Oh
which is
yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
that's Delaware's first esports and technology training center. So the first one in the state. Talk a little bit about what people do, what you can expect. If I was to come down, because I'm gonna come down and chop it up with you in a little
Oh
bit,
yeah, please
do a
do.
little video. We're gonna get some IG stories going and popping. But
Absolutely.
what happens when people come to FFG Central?
So a plethora of things, right? So as soon as you walk in, you see my big, and if you guys go on my social medias, pinned art at the top of my Instagram, you see a big panda. I named him. His name is Jerome. His last name is in the house. So we got Jerome. We got Jerome here.
Jerome in the house.
Watch your mouth, right? So so as soon as you walk into our reception area, you see a big Jerome, and then you walk down a hallway, you'll see 16 high-end gaming computers. So not only are they super high-end gaming computers where we could do all of the things in terms of being in the gaming world and competing in the gaming world, but we also use this for our workforce development as well. And we also use this for our technology training too. We're in the process of creating what's called FFG Studios, which is going to be game development, software development, and AI for business use cases. So a lot of that, and we're going to be really facilitating a lot of that to the kids. So that computer lab that we have with all those high-end computers, we could do all of the things from gaming, software development, game development, anything in terms of creating the actual code for technology. We could do that here. So that's the first thing you see when you walk in. You walk up a little bit further, we have a full podcasting and media studio. So we are literally teaching anybody who wants to come through these doors how to podcast, how to create streams on Twitch, YouTube, even a StreamYard, be able to record them and to be able to edit them and get them out to the world. Eventually, we're going to create an actual network where we're going to be aggregating all of the podcasts that we create here in Future Source Gaming and all of the media assets that we're going to have. We're going to, we're going to be paying these kids to produce this content. So, as we go out and get these bigger brands to push their information through our network, we're going to be breaking that bread with all the kids and all the folks who's going to be curating content through our space. And then here I'm sitting in, I guess, like the nucleus, we will call it, of our office, where I create a ton of content. If you see back there, I got another setup. My business partner, he creates a lot of the content. So, we are in talks with a lot of big brands right now, whereas we're utilizing Twitch as a means to push that content, push other brandings and activations through our content. So we got this huge office here, and then in our big office, and Steph, you'll probably see it eventually, we got 10 TVs hanging on the wall with a bunch of PlayStations, a bunch of Xboxes, a bunch of Nintendo Switches. So we got the nuts and the bolts on one side, and then we got all the fun on one side. So we're just a complete ecosystem of content, media, esports, and tech. We just all one big space. So you can get a lot when you come in to FFG Central. A ton.
That's what's up. I'm coming through this month.
Yeah,
this month we're gonna set it up.
I'm full up.
So just like I said, we're getting towards the top of our hour here. Malcolm, is there anything that you have not told us that you do that you want the world that's listening to us on this show to know that you do?
Oh man, so I am really deep into artificial intelligence. I'm not just generative AI. I'm really diving deep into the policy side. When you talk about this technology, AI is a buzzword, right? But what does it look like for Black and brown people to be at the table, from a policy perspective, and also what does it look like for people also from a policy perspective to use this technology responsibly and what's morally correct. So I'm jumping into that really heavy. I'm really heavy over here in Delaware from a political perspective as well. So I jump really deep into politics here. I also have a hair salon. I have a hair salon in Newcastle County called Lock Nation. When a lot of people really don't know this, but when you talk about the natural hair is $1 billion industry. You have to mention my name. When it comes to locks, right? I have the biggest digital following in the world when it comes to locks. I all of my platforms aggregated is probably about 1 million followers. All 100% focused on locks. So I built that even before I started doing Futures First Gaming. So, just a few things that I'm into outside of what I do here in the tech space. So,
little light work, little light work.
Sounds like you might get sleep on Tuesday nights or something like that. But
yeah, Tuesdays, maybe on a Wednesday. That's about it.
Into a lot. So the AI stuff that you're doing, we're gonna have to have you back just to talk about that. That's a whole conversation within itself. So we would love to get you back, on. But folks, it is time for us to start wrapping this particular episode up. I will say for anyone who is listening, if you would like to support the Tech Jawn, you can do so by heading over to thetechjawn.com/Patreon. We are on Patreon. You can sign up over there. Any one of the tiers that we have will get you free access to our live stream and after party. And a couple of those tiers even get you ad-free streams in your RSS if you don't want to have to listen to ads. So just do that little bit of a commercial. Malcolm, before we let you go, we got to tell folks, in your own words, where can they best find you? How can they best find you if they want to get at you? And I'm certain that after this interview, folks is going to find out what you're doing. How can they holler at you?
Oh man. Okay. So this is kind of like my intro that I use for all of my YouTubes and Twitches, right? It's your boy Malcolm Locks everywhere, and you know the vibe. So if you go to any single social media platform and just type in, let me see, it's on this side, I think, right here. You just type in Malcolm Locks. That's me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, I believe. I think I got Kick. But if you follow me on LinkedIn, where I have to button things up a little bit, Malcolm Coley on LinkedIn. So you can find me anywhere. I'm accessible for now. So yeah, hit me up. Please hit me up.
Tech Life Steph, tell folks how they can get at you.
Nice. Well, Malcolm, thank you again. I want to personally thank you for coming on. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
It was a great conversation, and I'm definitely going to pull up at Futures First Gaming soon. But right now, folk can find me all across the web at Tech Life Steph, or check me on my website at stephaniehumphrey.com.
And you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH.
And I am at Robb Dunewood on all the things. And we're also at the Tech Jawn on all the things. So come holler at us however you holler. Until we meet again in a week's time. Peace.